Well, hello. Welcome back to Soul Search Sunday with Johnny Tiger on January 17, 2021. Just came back after spending the night out with a couple of friends. Uh, Hit up the neighborhood pub, some good conversation, and a couple of pitchers of beer while social distancing from everyone else. Just a little tiny bit of joy and fun still to be had during this seemingly never ending pandemic. While we were drinking, my mind started to wander a little bit down memory lane, and strangely enough, I started thinking of my uncle, my uncle Shin, who's passed away about maybe 13, 14 years ago. He was my father's younger brother, my Uncle Shin. You know, I'm a little bit ashamed to say that for the most part, comparing to most people, I really don't know a heck of a lot about my own family. I know very little about my own family members, and that is not by choice. Most of it is because, well, in Chinese culture, we are not encouraged to learn too much about extended family. We know this uncle's name is this, that uncle's name is that, and we call this auntie this, that auntie that. But beyond that, we are not supposed to ask questions. We're not supposed to pry. So honestly, I have very little knowledge with regarding to my family members beyond the most immediate. Just to give you an idea of how little I know about my family, it wasn't until 2015 when I went back to Taiwan for some work for the Johnny Tiger documentary that I found out for the first time in my life that there is another branch of the Thai family that is doing really, really good, that is really wealthy, really upstanding citizens, politicians, and millionaires, and they do not recognize our branch of the family as legitimate Thai uh, descendants. I never knew that. I never knew that I had some wealthy relatives that don't know about me, that don't care about me. Like, I mean, the knowledge really doesn't change my life in any meaningful way or not, but it's just a kind of really shocking uh, revelation that came out of nowhere because all this time when I was growing up, I was under the impression that my father was the rich one, that our branch was the only branch, and my father was the only, one of the only few in our branch that made a lot of money, and so on and so on. So I had no idea that another branch, the more legitimized branch, you can even say, actually exists, and they are doing a lot better than our branch of the family. That knowledge was shocking, to say the least. So that is my roundabout way to say I don't know. I didn't know my uncle Shin much. So it is a strange thing indeed that I was thinking of him tonight. I don't even know his full name. I know his last name is the same as mine, Tai. I know that we were always all told to call him Uncle Shin. I know he was a portly, short, stout, uh, Taiwanese man who spoke with a very strong Taiwanese accent, and he always seemed to be happy and uh, didn't have a care in the world the few times that I met him. But beyond that, I didn't know much about him. I still don't. I don't know his full name. I don't know the name of his wife, his widow. I don't know the name of his children. I doubt his children know anything about me. Maybe because Uncle Shin, the one of the few things I remember about him is Uncle Shin loved to sit around and drink beer and chat with friends. Maybe that's why when I was drinking beer tonight, chatting with my friends, I thought of Uncle Shin. Growing up, we were never encouraged to talk to our Uncle Shin. We got to see him at family functions a few times, but for the most part, we didn't get to see him and his side of the family. To us, he was that uncle, that black sheep of the family that didn't amount to anything. That's what we were told by my father, by my mother, by other people in the family. The way my father always said was, your Uncle Shin is a loser. Your Uncle Shin could have been so much. I offered him a chance to come into business with me to make a lot of money. But all he wants to do is drink beer, hang out with his wife, and run his stupid little video game arcade. That's what my Uncle Shin did for his livelihood. He ran a not very successful little video game arcade, just a storefront with about 10, 12 dusty old machines, some Super Mario, some Bubble Dragon, some Street Fighter, a couple of Samurai Showdown, and a couple of uh, illegal uh, casino-style slot machine that he kept tucked away in the back room for people who were more inclined toward gambling. That's it. Now, a lot of people who run video game arcade manage to make a lot of money by doing other things on the side, maybe selling pornography, maybe selling beer to teenagers, maybe by selling cigarettes or selling exclusive membership, and so on and so on. Not my Uncle Shin. My Uncle Shin decided that all those illegal stuff, were too complicated. That's his own word. He didn't shy away from doing them because they were illegal, but he shied away from doing them because they were, in his own word, too complicated. He said, "Why would I want to be that complicate my life and complicate your auntie's life if just by doing what I do, I make enough for us to have meals and have the occasional money to play bingo and have beer." So Uncle Shin would spend his day sitting behind the counter of his rundown little video game arcade, watching the television or reading the newspaper, occasionally giving away free soda, free beer, free snacks to his patrons. And then every day by 5 o'clock, he would lock up, he would go back upstairs and him and my auntie, I still don't know her name, I'm sad to say, him and my auntie, his wife, they would cook something simple, and then they would either sit down and play video games themselves, or they would spend the rest of the night playing jigsaw puzzles. They were really into jigsaw puzzles. Like the way I'm into action figures is how my uncle Shin was into jigsaw puzzles. He had a lot of these like puzzles with 10,000 pieces finished and framed on his wall, and these apparently took him and my auntie years and years to complete. Sometime that was my uncle Shin's life, running the little video game arcade, didn't make any money, uh, living a very simple life, spending the end of every day with his wife, with his children, playing jigsaw puzzle, drinking beer, doing karaoke, playing video game. To everyone else in the family, he was a loser. He was that person who shouldn't be talked about, that person who everyone should keep their kids away from, because heck, we don't want our kids to grow up to be as useless as him. My most fond memory of Uncle Shin was one time my parents had to go take care of some business. So they somehow talked my Uncle Shin into babysitting me and my brothers at his video game arcade. So my parent gave us like $100 each, me and my brother $100 each, Taiwanese, not Canadian. So that probably amount to about $6, $5 Canadian, so maybe $4 US back then. And it said, here, spend the next few hours playing your uncle's machine since he's not getting any customers anyway, and we'll come pick you up when it's time for dinner. I remember about an hour later, my Uncle Shin came to check on the machines and he saw we were just sitting there not playing. And he said, "Hey boys, what's wrong? How come you guys not playing?" And we said, "We ran out of money." And we did because we like to challenge ourselves by playing those games on the hardest, highest difficulty setting, and we were not that good. Uh, so we kept losing. Every time you lose, you have to put in more coin, put more money to be able to continue the game. And so within the first hour, we ran out of money, every one of us. I remember my Uncle Shin said, "Oh well, why didn't you guys say so? Here, let me help you guys out." And he went and got the key, unlocked the machine, and he showed us, okay, like when look when you want to continue the game, and you just reach inside and bump this trigger, which is the trigger that the coin would bump when you put the coin in, and you can keep playing. Okay, then don't worry, you don't have to put any money in. Here, I'll give you your money back. You know, I didn't know you guys were putting money in. That's silly. We're a family. Just, play for free. Just stay as long as you like. That was my fondest memory of my uncle. I thought he was the coolest guy in the world. We got to we got to spend the whole afternoon there in his arcade playing for free. And what also stuck in my memory was afterward, after my parents picked us up, and we were all like, little kids, and we were all excited and telling our parents how cool my uncle was, how cool that he let us play for free, and how cool that he taught us how to uh, trigger the little gear inside the machine so it will continue the game and stuff like that. My mom my mom's only reaction to us being so happy with our uncle was turning around from the front seat of the car and she said, "And that is exactly why your uncle will never make money. He is going to die a very poor man." That was her prediction. He is going to die a very poor man. 14 years ago, my uncle passed away due to lung cancer. I remember my dad calling me the day after the funeral, and my dad said to me, he said, "I spent my whole life thinking Uncle Shin is just a loser. I spent my whole life thinking that he is just someone who's unwilling to try. I spent my whole life thinking that someone who refuses to work hard, someone who all he wanted to do was spend time with his wife and kids at home. It's like the worst kind of man there is. He's not a man, he's a woman." That's what my father said. He said, "I thought my whole life that's the case. I spent my whole life thinking very little of your Uncle Shin. That's why I didn't want you guys to have anything to do with him. But now I'm wondering if I was wrong." I said, "Dad, what changed your mind?" My dad said, "When I went to see your uncle in the hospital when he was dying, all his children were there. His four children, they were there taking care of him, feeding him, bringing him anything he wanted to eat or drink, reading to him, reading the news to him, reading stories to him, and talking to him, joking with him. 24 hours a day. His kids were there in the hospital with him by his bedside. His wife was there by his bedside. And even when they finally decided to take him off life support, he went with his whole family around him. No one was sad. Everyone was smiling and keeping everyone else's spirit up. He went with a smile on his face. Look at me. I'm his older brother. I'm still alive. But I spend every day of my life suffering. My wife hates me. My children hate me. When I die, no one is going to be there to say anything nice about me. Maybe in the end, your uncle was the winner after all." So, thinking of my Uncle Shin, I think it's interesting that in many ways that I lived my life a lot closer to his philosophy. At least I try to make sure that I do good by my friends, I do good by those around me, and I live my life uh, thinking, treating happiness as the ultimate goal rather than any kind of money, wealth, prestige, any of those nonsense. It's interesting that in the end, my life turned out to be a lot more similar to that uncle whom I never really got to know. Thank you for checking out today's Soul Search Sunday. We'll be back again tomorrow for Music Monday. For now, have a good night and remember to be happy.